Good morning, self-lovers. Hi, welcome. We are together. Woohoo! Yay for being a physical connection, right? And so welcome to the Self-Love Show. In case you are new to us, thank you for tuning in. We're really excited for you to be with us weekly. We do the show weekly live Thursdays at 10 a.m. And for those that are first joining, we have a YouTube channel. Please go check out the Self-Love Show YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe. You know, every show is so important to get the message out of self-love. And it's such a wide broadcast of like self-love. It can show up in all kinds of ways. So this is a deep conversation around how to grow your self-love capacity in every way and support every person on their journey to do so. Every soul deserves this up leveling in their consciousness in every way, right? Woo woo. So that's our, just deepest prayer to give you the most golden nuggets in this show and in this experience. So the YouTube channel is a great way to share out previous shows. If you know a friend that's struggling or know someone that's really like, hey, I have a tool or a tip for you, watch this show. That would be so amazing and helpful. Every like matters on Facebook and on YouTube. Like, it helps us so much with the algorithm. So we're just asking for your support in that way. And today's going to be a great show. Trisha's going to introduce me. And, for those that are tuning in weekly, we're just so grateful to have you. Truly, it means everything to us to continue doing this. We love this offering in the world, and we just appreciate you tuning in to listen weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah.
It's an interesting show today because we are together, which is a very different dynamic. And it's one screen. And so if you see me looking down, it's just that I'm posting for you. So I'm deeply excited to share about Dawn's teachings today. So it's important to learn to reframe our challenging life curriculum into blessings. How can we reframe it? As soon as we shift our perspective, our attitude shifts from upset and resistance to one of acceptance, wisdom, compassion, expansion, and resourcefulness. Dawn Light, this one right here, is an extraordinarily gifted spiritual psychology coach and self-love activist. She specializes in supporting high-achieving women that struggle with unresolved trauma in their background that affects their marriages and partnerships. She received her bachelor's in psychology from California Coast University in Santa Ana, and she attended a master's level program called Soul-Centered Living from the University of Santa Monica in spiritual psychology. Dawn is an expert in theta healing. That's where I met her. With 15 years of experience. Her focus is getting to the roots of trauma through spiritual psychology coaching to reveal the authentic self and to live a fully expressed, love-centered life. Yes, I want some more of that. She is launching her program, Unleash Your Sovereign Queen, which if you haven't heard about it, check it out. We'll type it into the chat box right now.
Doors are open right now.
Yep. You better get in before she closes.
Yeah,
it's close.
Next week it's close. Yes, next week you start.
So she's launching her program, Unleash Your Sovereign Queen, which helps women rewrite their story of distrust and come home to love. Dawn lives in Santa Rosa, California with her husband of 18 years and their 11-year-old son.
19 now. I need to change that. Awesome.
Oh.
Thank you for that intro.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. It's a trip every time you see or hear someone read your thing. You're like, oh, that's really interesting.
So I'd love okay. So when I sat down just now, Dawn and I say a centering prayer before we get on the show. And
yes, it's true.
And it's every week we invite our guests into a centering conversation. And I wanted to invite you all in. And I'm going to ask that Dawn shares a prayer because I don't know if you know. You probably don't know, but this is one of her like super secret, stealthy ninja skills that she's got. It's epic prayers. So
Thank you, babe. That's so sweet. Okay, so this is like you're getting a back end kind of experience because we do this on the back end before we do the go live. So we, with our guests, when they come on, we always align in a prayer, and I just channel prayers, and it's always heart centered and uniquely different every single time. So they're never the same. I mean, I have bedtime practices and prayers that I say in the evening time that are the same prayers with my family, but when I just tune in and do it intuitively, it's always just a channeled thing. So I encourage you just to take a deep centering breath and close your eyes for a moment if you like. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. And if you're watching the replay and you can sit and have a moment, then I encourage you to do so. Take a deep centering breath in your heart, and we're just going to open the channel by saying, Father, Mother, God, creator of all that is, divine mother, Holy Spirit, we just invite you into this container, this sacred container of the self-love show, the portal of our heart. We invite you in and open a column of light from God's heart to ours and ours to God. We ask for your blessing and your clearing today in our consciousness in any way that needs to be lifted and cleared. Anything that is difficult curriculum that we are dealing with, Spirit, I ask for your guidance, your grace, your protection, your understanding, your clarification. We ask for any misidentification, any misunderstanding, any incomplete, curriculum that is in the way that can be dissolved and lifted and cleared in your light, Spirit. We ask for your blessing and grace and to do so in our consciousness. Help us feel grounded and rooted in our root chakra, in all our chakras, to be fully aligned and centered in your loving. We ask for your presence and your grace and your light to be present in our life path, helping us make steps forward on our spiritual path with more grace, more ease, more centering, more connection, and more flow, inviting in the spiritual flow of our life like a river of goodness, grace, kindness, compassion, centeredness, clarity, happiness. May happiness be our guide, and may our authenticity and our kindness be the loving steering, oar of the boat, carrying us downriver with your grace, Spirit. Thank you for the opportunity to give in loving service always. Today, I invite in just a deep knowing of centeredness in your divine divinity, Spirit. Thank you for helping us attune to your grace and light always. And may this prayer be lifting for your consciousness in all places in your spirit. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is so.
So it is.
And so it is.
Thanks, Dawn. I am going to post your link right now for your program.
Awesome. Can you see us?
Yeah. You don't have to move it.
Okay.
I'm going to move over in a minute, but
okay. Yeah. So the conversation today is really about, reframing issues as blessings. So how have you, for our viewers, so this is an opportunity to really explore the challenges going on in our life, right? Like, what's a challenging curriculum that you've been up against? We've moved through a huge pandemic. Now the world is opening up, but it can really bring forward a new set of challenges because there's so much change that took place. And now it's like, how do we reintegrate into the world after that really long pause in a way? And so I'm just bringing that forward because that's the world's experience, right? And we all have, the microcosm of that experience in our life. And so I can speak about myself and learning to reframe issues as blessings. For a long time in my life, I'm just going to speak about, weave in my program too, really the copy from my program, because truly, I had such unhealed curriculum for so long. I'm a child abuse survivor. For those that have tuned to the show, know this, but for our new viewers, now you know. So it was really what led me on this path to become who I am today and to give me the voice that I have today and the background to understand trauma, because I've lived it. I have a lived experience of surviving crazy trauma. And so with that, I broke the cycle of abuse, and I found like the most loving, amazing man in my life. My husband, he's amazing. We've been together 19 years. He's just the most kindest man I've ever known, truly, in my heart. He's so supportive and centered in loving, always stands in that pillar constantly for me. And and I stand for him in that way. But even with that, I still had curriculum surfacing from the issues from my childhood that were present. And that's the way spiritual curriculum works in our life. Is it's our lessons that we come into and that we're born into that family unit for a reason. We chose it, we experience it, and there's a deep learning going on, soul learning. And so that stuff was still bubbling to the surface. Even though I broke the cycle and there wasn't abuse in our dynamic, I still had really intense patterning surfacing that were really like a mixed bag of my parents' stuff. Like my parents fought about money all the time. And so we had a dynamic where we fought about money because it was like I was just unconsciously carrying forward that misidentification around a mix of how my mom showed up and a mix of how my dad showed up. And that morphed into me. And it was like a knee-jerk response. And we all know this in our curriculum where you will catch yourself in it even and go, God, why did I say that in that way? It was like a knee-jerk response. Well, that's what this tool I'm going to bring forward today helps you eliminate having that knee-jerk response where you're like, oh man, that just flew out of my mouth. Why did I say it that way? And it's like, oh, that's actually like, I can see where that comes from. That's my relative. That's my mom. That's my dad. That's my uncle. That's my, you know what I mean? You can kind of get the grasp, but it's living inside of you because it's connected. You can follow it back to a time period in your life where there's unresolved emotional material. And that's the thing when we have traumatic imprinting, trauma, shock, things that go on, it can kind of imprint in our consciousness and create a whole structure of belief sets, misidentifications, misunderstandings, misinterpretations. And then that forms the egoic crystallized patterning that shows up in our consciousness. And then that's what creates the knee-jerk responses and triggers where we're like showing up in a inauthentic way, or we wear a mask to protect ourselves because we're afraid to reveal our real truth. So let me know if in the chat box if what I'm saying resonates to you, because I'm speaking from my life experience, I'm speaking from my studies, I'm speaking from things that have happened to me, and I'm just curious if this resonates. So give me a yes if it does in the chat box. I would love to hear you. So what's been for you? What is your experience with what I'm saying?
Oh gosh, that's very timely, Dawn. You know what? Oh gosh. As I've been learning a lot more, oh, oops, 1 second. As I've been learning and as I've been sitting with, I've had a lot of intense amount of grief and loss over this last year. That's like surprisingly what the theme of this year has looked like. Mm-hmm. And there's the dissolution or dissolving of identities and patterns and behaviors and multiple, like, so my father died, my stepdad died in November, like some of you know, and like, you know, and that was a big part of my identity. Like he was a part of my personality and who I showed up as. And that death was really big for me, you know, like to shift and change some of the death around the transformation around the perspective in which that I've been socialized. Mm-hmm. Around being a woman with this color of skin. That's also like being able to educate myself there has really helped me see through a more compassionate lens. Beautiful. Another thing that I would love to share is that I've been taking notes on conversations. Like if I'm having a phone conversation or if I'm really upset, or, you know, like any heightened emotion, I'll take notes on the conversation. So that when I'm not in an emotionally triggered state or am I in a dysregulated state, that I can go back and read it.
That's powerful.
From a different state of mind. Mm-hmm. And what that's shown me is some of how my inner conversation is. How is, you know, where have I picked up certain behaviors or thoughts that look like this? Mm-hmm. So I really acknowledged my inner critic and what voice that was in and how that showed up and where I picked that up.
Yes.
And
ding, ding, ding for our viewers. If you haven't done this, this is such a good tip, what she's sharing right now, like to take notes on all your conversations and go back and read and examine whose voice is it, inner critic. That's such powerful, like, good tool. That's a good tool.
Or even just like the way that society teaches us to be who we are, or to conform for safety and to get our needs met. So even that is just like really interesting. I don't know, if you're not journaling, journal. Because this is really, really important. Dawn, you were a big proponent for me to journal. I couldn't do the pen to paper thing for so long, but I found I can hack it on my phone and take notes. So dear millennials, if you have a hard time keeping a journal, put it in your phone. So in the sense of really looking at and reframing my issues as blessings, what I understand this as to be is that when I have a dysregulated nervous system, or when I'm having an issue, or when I'm upset or something, when I'm projecting a judgment or a blame, that there's something in me, like that is a me experience. And I get the opportunity in that moment to actually access what's underneath the discomfort or underneath the judgment. So that might be, if I'm judging someone else, that's a value or a judgment that I hold against myself. Or if I'm, deeply judging myself, is it my judgment, or is it something that I have taken on? And am I living in, like, am I incongruent? Am I congruent with and aligned with my values and my behaviors? So that's what's coming up for me in this, to reframe my issues as blessings. Like, absolutely, this is the self-reflection piece. This is right here. Something's coming up. I get to hold it and look at what is creating the discomfort or the upset for me.
Beautiful. So just to reiterate what you were saying a little more, judgments are actually self-condemnation. And so when we judge another or ourselves or the circumstance, whatever is going on, it actually is creating the crystallized pattern and helping reinforce the already crystallized pattern that's going on inside, which the ego then loves to sink its teeth into and hang on tightly. And that's why we can feel like we're doing a lot of self-work growth and inner work, but why isn't it shifting? It's because we keep reinforcing it to stay through judgment. We keep supporting the foundations of the old misidentifications to still be there if we're keeping judging the circumstances and not taking full responsibility for how we co-create with spirit. We are co-creating with spirit every second of the day. And so it's an opportunity to lean back and take full responsibility. Like, how am I co-creating this? What is my part in this? And where can I learn to reframe, even in the midst of a very challenging time, a very challenging curriculum, a very challenging conversation? How can I reframe this and look for the silver lining, look for the learning, look for the blessings, right? And this tool that I'm sharing today is from, spiritual psychology. Thank you, Ron and Mary. Like, I really want to give them props because I'm sharing golden nuggets from my school experience that I paid a ton of money to go to and do. So you're getting like a golden nugget opportunity today to glean the blessings from my blessings. And it's been the blessing that keeps on blessing. Like, literally, it was a portal of blessings I stepped into. So, and continue to have. And thank you, God, for the opportunity, right? It's radically changed my life. And, my mother gave me the tool when I was young to look for the blessing. Like, she talked to me about that when I was young. She didn't have the word reframe issues as blessing portal activate. Yes. Whoever you are out there saying that in the chat, thank you.
I'm gonna guess. I'm just gonna guess because it's on a page that we can't see the name. I'm gonna guess it's Sage, but let me go check.
Hi, Sage, if it's Sage. And hi, Cheryl. Hi, honey. Good to hear your voice and see you on the chat. So what I was saying was, I lost my train of thought for a sec.
Oh, you were sharing about, so I do want to say this. Your mother gave you the
Oh,
the
yes.
piece, but
Yes.
she also said that on the show that we had her on recently.
Yeah.
Is like, she was just like, I really, look for the blessing or make it
See,
positive.
that's my mom, dude. My
So
mom is
sweet.
just, yeah. So I'm, it's, oh, it's Davy. Hi, Debbie. How are you? Yay. So what I was saying was, yes, my mom gave me the, I think that I arrived in that with my curriculum and my soul, right? My awareness was already present, but my mother and my childhoods were reinforcing that look for the blessing. And then I kept discovering, through tools and practices all my life, I was just, a seeker of knowledge, a seeker of truth, a seeker of more information that's going to awaken my codes that I carried inside. And so it just led me on this path of healing, healing my deep. Why did I arrive in a family unit? I asked that question for a long time. I was so riddled with, why did this happen? Why did I have a childhood abuse dynamic? And why did that soul over there look like they have rainbows and unicorns just, in their front yard constantly? You know what I mean? And I know that other people can relate to this, right? Because it looks so radically different each person's life. And like, it logically makes no sense why one person could have such hardship and crazy things going on, and another person looks like they just like breeze through life, no problem, And I struggled with that for such a long time. But the truth is there's a mystery unfolding here, that God really knows the truth about it all. And we all have curriculum lessons to come into to learn through those dynamics. And who are we to judge anything or any circumstance? Because there's a mystery unfolding that is masterfully crafted by the universe, creator, spirit, God. I say all the words just so you know. If you're getting to know me, you'll hear it all fly out of my mouth. I have one big fat relationship with spirit, and I don't have any bounds with how I say the words. So yeah.
I love you. I've been exploring a lot about humanness and how humans got here. Like, I've been looking a lot into history, and I've been looking a lot into where we became separated from God, like the ideas and how we became separated from our own nature, we'll call it. And there was a lot of fear around people who were different, around people who had experienced unique things or didn't look like the same person. So there was a lot of fear about, and it's ingrained in our body, right? To actually have fear of something that might attack us. Like, that's just the animal body. So in that sense, when there's a lot of fear showing up, right? This is where I see a lot of judgment come from. That when there's a lot of fear ancestrally, like, let's go back to when we're not really communicating and it's just like body language. And when there's a lot of fear there, we're trying to save our place or save ourselves or our family or protect. And so in that sense, this is where we started to become separate from each other, from ourselves, from the other, and from God. A lot of religions or structured religions has created a separation of God, that God is not you and me and us, and what's the space between our relationship, that it's everywhere. And there's a place where the disconnect from our own spirit to be placed on something that was a greater spirit, which is also a separation, right, is one of the places that we created the separation and the judgment. So in this realm of this, what'd you call it, this big fat relationship with spirit, like, to be able to actually step into and look from spirit's eyes, that the judgment is kind of a man-made experience. God doesn't judge us.
It's the ego.
It's the ego, right? So it's the creator is in full acceptance, or the being with what is, right? And that's where we get to learn how to dissolve our own patterning, our own programming, our own socialization, our own curriculum and belief systems that no longer serve, that keep us in places where we're self-abandoning or mistrusting or not communicating our needs or living authentically. Where we're not living authentically is in a place of fear and judgment.
Ding, ding, ding. Yep, that's so true. Yeah, so it's really that's why I love spiritual psychology, and why I chose to do this work in this way is it helps untangle the separation narrative. Literally, it's shedding the ego's misidentifications in every way and shattering it, so that you don't have to live any false narrative, period, and you can just radiate your authenticity, because your authenticity is naturally in you, and the byproduct of authenticity is joy, happiness, creativity, spontaneity, alignment, centeredness, connection. It's living, allowing spirit to fully embody through you without a feeling of compartmentalization. Because I think that when we're heavily laden with really listening only to the ego, then a lot of compartmentalization can happen, and that's where people can feel like they live a double life. It's like, oh, this part of my life is like this, but over here then I'm this person over here, and they can feel deeply separated and separate, because you can't show up as this person over here, because maybe at your job you're this way, but then when you go home you're a completely different way, and they're completely separate, and then it creates a sense of deep aloneness, because you're struggling in these two different worlds. And I'm speaking from experience, because I had this experience where I had a profession and a job outside of the house that took me away from my family dynamic, and I was a radically different persona and person there from where I am in my family dynamic. And I had to deeply, with the death of my dad, it was the completion of a soul line experience with he and I, and it was the end of my graduation and graduate school, and the death of my dad kind of culminated in like a big crescendo of like 45 years of my life struggling against what these deep misidentifications, like I'm broken, I'm not worthy, something's deeply wrong with me, I don't get it right. There were all these ways of being that were really lived experiences, and viscerally, where I had that conversation going on always. And so I would always view myself as less than, instead of, I would see other people that were super abundant and had their life together, and it was a mystery to me how they could do that. And I had to stay in the shadows in a way. And so I had this very separate reality going on, and it was deeply freaking painful, because I just didn't understand like what was in the way. But the truth is, the pain and the circumstances that are really the deepest difficulty or curriculum in your life, the thing you run from, that's the doorway through. So I invite you into a conversation to pause and stop and walk towards the thing that is difficult, and the willingness to fully face it, the willingness to step into that place that's the fear, the willingness to say, you know what, I'm going to move forward and say yes to this, even though it scares the bejesus out of me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. Right. And I made this intention stepping into graduate school. I said, this is it. This is my only lifetime to do this. I'm doing it this lifetime. I will not leave the door closed on my father. Even though he was the worst person to me in my entire existence, and I will not let this leave. I will leave no stone unturned around this until I get to I'll crack the code. I was like, that's it. I'm stepping in. And I leveraged that experience. I stepped in with the strongest soul intention to heal, to complete. Like literally, I said the word complete when I stepped in. I was like, I'm completing this. And I made that intention, and I stayed the course. I stayed the course no matter what arose. And let me tell you, things arose to derail me, because I called it forward. Yes. That deep prayer and intention called the curriculum forward, and then everything started. I mean, literally, my first weekend in graduate school, I flew to Santa Monica. I live in Santa Rosa. I had already been in Vegas, so I flew home. I was planes, trains, and automobiles for 3 years. And I flew to Santa Monica. I spent my first weekend there, and literally I flew home to raging fires in my neighborhood, not knowing if I was going to have a home. And I mean, talk about curriculum right
Yes.
off the bat. Like stackers, we call those stackers in psychology and in our school in USM. And it's where it feels like one thing after, when it rains, it pours, that expression. We call it stackers. It's like stack, stack, stack. When you're going to crack the code, wake up. That's the universe's opportunity to just say, okay, we're going to give one more thing. Let's see how she handles it. Let's see how they handle it. Let's see how you handle it, right? Like stack, 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 stack. And man, talk about giving me major opportunity. And I could have easily said, this is too hard. I can't do it. That would have been the ego's way of showing up, because it was so there. I could have easily said, F this. It's so incredibly hard. I can't do it. And, I would have still been that person relating in that way and not changing lives. But now I can sit here and honestly say, like, with so much gratitude, that I help other people now. I help other people come home to themselves in their authenticity, because I've done it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or I've got it all figured out. I'm humaning just like you. I still have challenges. I still have things come up, but I have the tools to work my process now.
Yes.
And that's what this is about. It's like the human emotion spectrum is still going to be there. You're still going to have pain surface. You're still going to be human. It's like before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. But we're going to give you the tools to do it with grace,
yes.
to do it with Spirit's grace, to do it with authenticity. And it gets easier. It gets more light-filled. It gets more purpose-driven. It gets more aligned in every way. I just went for it. I like, woo.
You're called. No, it's good. So I'm just, for the people who are watching and listening, have you had the experience of asking, why is this happening to me? Or why does this happen to this group of people? Or why is this happening when, other people have this experience or something seeming as better? And just type it in if you have had that experience. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you for responding. We love the response.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's, again, there's always going to be the conditioning. There's always going to be the patterning. The hardware came with the software, with software. This came with software. In, between the ages of 1 and 7, you have a whole bunch of software that you downloaded. And it's that's always going to have some level of the operating system. It's about how you work with it. It's about what you do with it. So again,
and to be empowered in it.
Yeah. So what Dawn said is, like, all that's going to be, the level of human expression, that's all going to be there. Like, you're still going to get mad. You're still going to be upset. You're still going to be sad. You're going to have all of that, because human. And it's about what we do with that. It's about how we show up in those places. We can shame them. We can blame them. We can, again, continue to invest in them by the judgment, or you get to choose to behave and act differently, to think differently. And that's the practice of humaning. That's the commitment to oneself. And, as I've been exploring, as Dawn and I've been exploring this, what it means to be self-loving, that there is this piece about the commitment to staying with self when it's not all hunky-dory.
Mm-hmm.
It's the commitment to stay with and to not self-abandon, but to make self-honoring choices, to show up in full authentic expression and honesty so that you can negotiate reality together.
Mm-hmm. And cleanse the lens of perception.
Yes.
That's the time when you're inward and you're having your stuff arise and it's up. That's like, oh, school is in session. I'm going to clear my space. Meaning, like, if you have a full plate, like, maybe you can change some appointments, make space for you to have a process and honor what's coming forward so that you can get through the material and up and over onto the other side. Because when the breakdown comes, then the breakthrough is right on the other side. So you got to just know that as soon as you start to feel like crap, you start to have major material surface and you're like in it and swimming in it, give yourself permission to be swimming in it. Then clear your space, self-care time. reflection time, journal time, process time, grab the pillow, work your process, get in that anger, like whatever you need to do to really process your feelings, do it. And then know that this is the way it works, that you're automatically going to get to the other side of it when you honor it, when you give your space. And then guess what? You're going to have an amazing, insightful thing come forward, because you're learning to cleanse your lens of perception so that you can upgrade that software we're speaking about, upgrade your, what's going on. You're shedding the misidentification and instilling a new set of beliefs that actually are going to serve you where you're going in your path.
I love this. I love you so much. I just had this thought. So I had a conversation with a potential client last night. He's in his 40s. And he was sharing his difficulties in dating. And he's like, he listed 15 books for me of like things that I read. Yes. I've read this, I've read these things, and they're all relationship books. And he really wants to be in a relationship. And the thing that he struggled with most is he's like, as a man, I'm confused about how to behave with women. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's pretty honest.
That's great feedback.
Yes, that he said the dynamic is different, but the single most problem that he's had with dating is that the people that he's dated have been so inauthentic. That the fear of showing up as themselves and being rejected, being not what this man wants, has been so deeply challenging for him that he's like, I want to get to know them, and they're terrified. They want relationship and they want connection so deeply that they're willing to contort or mask or be inauthentic. Mm-hmm. And I sat back and I was like, wow, what a really interesting experience for this person to have, and to really show up like as like, I want to know you and get to know you, and it might not be right, but I'm willing, and for the person not to meet them, or to this man. And so again, just in what you were saying, Dawn, is really, of course I asked him questions about himself and about his own inner work. Yeah, and I was like,
where is he not willing to meet himself?
I know. I mean, we weren't there. That wasn't, I couldn't get into a conversation specifically about it. But there was like questions about like, where are you not showing up authentically, or where are you not showing up in compassion with your not so like beautiful,
or parts, judging his inauthentic parts, right? Like,
yes.
Because outer expression outer world reality is an expression of inner world reality.
Are you getting that?
Yeah.
Are you really getting how that your judgments or your fears are really like your outward projecting, even inward, are parts of you that you can you actually have the opportunity and get to love them deeper, to accept them, to nourish them, to treat them with kindness and compassion and empathy and respect.
Mm-hmm. Sacred teachers.
Would you like to reframe a little bit with us?
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, give me a sec. I'm going to pull up my document here. Wonderful. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to guide us through a really powerful process. It's short and it's potent. So this is a tool from, my studies in spiritual psychology. I want to again thank Ron and Mary Hulnick for the opportunity to share this and give this out as a blessing. So it is so human to see difficult situations, problems, and the emotional upsets of unresolved issues as negative. Not surprisingly, we attempt to control life in order to avoid them. An alternative approach is to see these areas as learning opportunities for shifting from the ego's perspective of judgment and upset, and why is this happening to me again? Right? How many times have you asked yourself that? To the elevation of the spiritual context on the soul line. So remembering you are a divine being having a human experience, learning to utilize life's challenges in service to your awakening and remembering who you truly are as the presence of love. I invite you to take that in as the presence of love. That's so powerful, right? We're experiencing the presence of love at every second of our life, every breath. So, as soon as you shift your perspective, your attitude automatically shifts from upset and resistance to one of acceptance, compassion, wisdom, expansion, creativity, and resourcefulness. Clarity and authentic empowerment naturally follow. Isn't that powerful? So ask yourself, what new learning is in store for me now? What golden opportunity do I now have for healing? Remember, how you relate to the issue is the issue. Or said another way, how you relate to yourself while going through the issue is the issue. Healing and awakening begin here. So if you're sitting and you are not driving, I encourage you to, just take a pause here and really allow yourself to, tune in deeply to this experience. I'm going to guide us through a process. So I invite you to close your eyes and attune to your authentic self. You can put your hand on your heart even and just say, I invoke my inner counselor. Those symbols bring forward the wisdom of your higher guidance always. You just have to invoke it. So invoke the inner counselor and always be aware that you are loving essence. Or if you're talking with someone, that you are talking with another loving essence, experiencing loving essence. So calmly experiencing everything that your ego or personality is going through, regardless of your current thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. So I invite you to look for the love that's inside of you, the loving essence that is always present inside of you and another. And remember that you have all the inner resources necessary to effectively respond to your situation. And if you're having a conversation with someone else, remember that they have all the necessary resources, inner resources to effectively respond to their situation. And I encourage you to attune now to a current experience that has been challenging for you. Think about it. What's been up for you? Use the words "I'm upset because ... fill in the blank, because that's a charged positionality, right? The ego loves positionality. I'm right, you're wrong, black, white thinking. That's the ego. And so it's an opportunity. Anytime you hear yourself say I should be, that's also where the ego can be sneaking in. It likes to be sneaky and hide from us. And so I just encourage you, what is this challenging situation? And bring it forward with love. We're going to look at it right now. Now, this could be, a wide variety of things for each person. It is so unique, uniquely crafted to your curriculum. But I invite you to bring it forward. I know you've already got it in your mind. I'm upset because ... Now, I encourage you to just attune, just say in your awareness, I give myself permission to see this through the eyes of acceptance and understanding. Just to give yourself an attunement, a little bit of a higher vibration around the difficult piece, whatever that is for you. I want to gently remind you that the foundational principle of spiritual psychology, how you relate to the issue, is the issue. Or said another way, how you relate to yourself while you go through the issue is the issue. So healing begins here. How are you relating to this challenge? Ask yourself that. Observe inside with acceptance. Attune to acceptance, attune to the challenge, and attune to the inner language you have going on. What is it? Whose voice is it? What are you saying? Is there a place that there's not compassion? Is there a place that there's judgment? Is there a place that there's misunderstanding? Explore it. Give yourself permission, full permission, to have acceptance to anything that's present in your awareness around it, around how you're relating to it. This is an exploration. Be curious. Curiosity is the doorway. I invite you, this is such a big, powerful tool. Use and leverage curiosity for your healing. Now, I invite you to gently and compassionately consider questions such as, what new learning is in store for you now? Can you see any opportunity that may be hidden in this challenge? What golden opportunity may be available to you for healing now? What is on the soul line? What opportunity on the soul line is available to you now? And what do you perceive your soul is attempting to assist you in learning through this challenging circumstance? I encourage you to just sit and these are big questions, but they're valuable. They can really help crack the code on what's going on, with also applying acceptance to any inner language that is going on inside around how you're relating to it. How are you creating it? How is it showing up? And what is the inner language? And now it's important to sit and listen to your soul around these questions. I encourage you to breathe. I encourage you to attune to your inner counselor and trust the wisdom of your soul coming forward. It's in there. You have all 100% full ability to attune to the wisdom inside always. All right. Now, I encourage you to move into the energy of reframing and taking this challenged, perceived challenged, and reframe it into a blessing. How are you being blessed through this experience? How are you being uplifted through this experience? What are you learning through it? And I encourage you to reframe it in your heart and your mind into a blessing. You can use the words that, this is difficult and I'm learning ... This is challenging and I'm learning ... See how you're owning it. You're owning it by saying it's still challenging, but I know Spirit's got me. And I know that the learning I'm learning through this is completing such and such for me, right? Like, you can say it in a way that really gives empowerment to your experience. And in that empowerment opens the door for you to just fully own all parts of you and move forward with grace. So now I invite you to positively reinforce your willingness to reframe any issue as a blessing by courageously and positively prizing yourself and acknowledging yourself for your process and your willingness to reframe any issue as a blessing. What are you learning, and what can you acknowledge yourself for? I acknowledge myself for the willingness to learn through this challenging time. I acknowledge myself for not giving up on myself. I acknowledge myself for working through it and being dedicated. I acknowledge myself for the willingness to continuously show up, even though it has been so painful. That is authentic and honest, right? With yourself. Where do you acknowledge your soul for bringing this forward as your growth opportunity? Can you thank your soul and give it a big thank you? Even though this has been challenging and hard, thank you. If the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, that is enough. And I encourage you to now gently wiggle your fingers and toes, and you can, come back to presence. It's a short process, but it's a powerful, potent one to reframe your issues as blessings. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share today.
Oh, I always feel like but I'll share what I got.
Yeah, what did you get? I'm so curious.
There's always the whisper to be even more compassionate. And to recognize that in my upset or in another person's upset or in your upset, that there's deep wants and needs and values that are being asked to be met.
Mm.
And to recognize that some of the human strategies to get their needs met are just, that's just the way that people do that. And to be able to step out and to listen more deeply to the want and need. So I just got deeper compassion for myself and others. I got deeper compassion for just the world in general.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I really acknowledge what you're saying.
That, you know, when like the whole show, right? That we've been talking a lot about the judgment of. So if someone's judging you and you're feeling the judgment and you're taking it on as something that might be true for you, which is also another judgment. You see the cycle here? That in that place, it's like, oh, this person's sharing their judgment and they want something. They want something to be met, or they want compassion, or they want time and attention, or they might want to be seen, heard, and valued. And the strategy for them to get their need met might not show up in the way that you can hear it in the moment, or the way that I can hear it, or in the way that Dawn can hear it in the moment. Though I don't know, Dawn's pretty epic. And then in that place of like, can I take a deep breath and lean back, as my teacher Zuza shares, is to lean back into the big back support and to step out of the ego or the personality and the identity, but to actually just hold space, a compassionate space for a person. It's like, oh, they're having an experience, and this experience is like, can I hold them in that, even though what they're saying might be hurtful, or even though what I'm saying might be hurtful to them? Like it's really just showing up in deeper compassion, in deeper understanding, or deeper, as you know, some of you have already heard this from me, but my definition of love is the radical acceptance of what is. And so just in that sense, that's what a deeper understanding and a deeper whisper of remembrance to be more loving and compassionate.
Beautiful. That's so powerful what you're saying. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, this is true. It's the byproduct of doing inner work is we become more compassionate. We're able to just reside in that place of compassion and show up in compassion and be in a place of calm and not triggered. You know, you get less and less triggered with circumstances and things because you don't have that unresolved material as an attractor field. Our unresolved material in our consciousness is the attractor field to attract the crazy, attract the really, you know, what the F was that like situation. You know, we all have had those come down the pipeline, and we're human. We have really, like, sometimes, you know, I would always feel personally in myself, like, before I really learned the tools, that I would I hit sideways and derailed completely. And then I just didn't get it. I was like, what in the F? You know, and I had to learn to like really be present. And it was really all the unresolved material from my childhood, the trauma, the pain, the terror. You know, I mean, literally, I lived my childhood walking on eggshells. So I always had this feeling of distrust, like residing in my consciousness. And that alone just magnetized really intense things to me as, you know, my whole life. And so I'm so grateful to like have dissolved that conversation inside of myself. I don't have that vibrational attractor field any longer. Like, I really, like, trust became my main quality that I worked with to embody, just to really come home to that place of deep trust in spirit, that I reside in trust. I show up in trust. I just continuously lean in to trust. And it really shifted my consciousness completely.
You reminded me of something that happened the other day. So I could hear my neighbors yelling at each other. I'm just going to share this like really personal, weird life story. So I'm hearing my neighbors screaming at each other in the street, and they were both really upset and saying really mean things. And I kind of like walked out and I was like, "Yo, what's going on here?" And they kind of like were startled because I disrupted the pattern. And at that point, I mean, it's like midnight, so I ended up getting dressed because I just felt like I needed to go, not like getting into the drama, but there's just like something that called me out. I wouldn't normally do this. And I walked down the street and I noticed that he had gone in the house, but had followed her and they were still bickering. And I was like, yo, I know that things are hot right now. And I know that there's some stuff going on and probably you both have hurt each other, likely. And take some space right in the moment. It's really late. Take some space, do some deep self-care. Go relax your nervous system. Come back to conversation when you're compassionate and curious. Again, when you have self-sourced enough that you're compassionate and curious about the other person's experience. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting into this. And they looked at me like, I mean, I could see them click. And they were like, wow. And I was like, lady, do you need a ride home? Can I walk you to your house? Like, what do you need here? And they both looked at me like, huh. And so I ended up walking her to her friend's house and then going back and speaking to my neighbor. And it was a really powerful experience. He was like, I know you're right. And that was, thanks for stepping in.
Amazing.
We really, really needed that. And I didn't say much, but I was a stand for love and I was a stand for compassion and curiosity, because when that fume or that fury or that expression like that, nothing's going to happen there. Like not much is going to get resolved in the moments of that kind of adrenaline and cortisol, because the nervous system is dysregulated, and the way that your brain is like you're in the fight, flee, or fawn. You're in yeah. So it was a really powerful experience. So that's what I wanted to share.
Wow, that's really bold. This is the thing, when you do the inner work, then you become for a stand for love. And you can affect others' lives like because before you would have just probably brushed it off and been like, oh, I can't do it, let them do their thing. But that's really brave. That's like really moving into the authentic self and practicing like courageous bravery, right? That's the authentic expression. Like willing to be courageous, to say, hey, I don't know you, but I know that this tool can help you.
I don't know you very well, and I know you love each other. I've seen you around before. I know that you want to be loving to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be a stand for that. And I know that in the senses on a side note, I know that in the places where you're in the reptilian brain, that's when violence occurs. Not only in the language, but in physicality. Is like when that level of cortisol, adrenaline, and the other floods of your body chemistry, that's where violence happens. And so this is where we can hack our own violent emotions, our violent thoughts, our own violent expressions of. And what I mean by violent is the uncontrolled outburst of something. So instead of coming from compassion and curiosity and wonder and really like seeking connection, but to take the space to calm the nervous system, which could be up to like hours to days. And if we said that at the same time, I love that. so it ended up being, and just to finish the story, yesterday, so it had been 4 days since they had talked, and things were getting heated, and I was like, yo, again, just a reminder, compassion and curiosity is going to help you move through this. Yelling at each other and pointing fingers, that's a judgment that's just really not probably going to help. They're in their 20s and adorable little couple, but
amazing.
It was so sweet. So that's what your share had brought up for me is really to come back into being a stand for love, being a stand for compassion.
I love that. How are you making a stand for compassion in your life, in your people's lives, right? Because we all influence each other at the end of the day. we all, our energy ripples out into the universe and makes an impact for everybody. So I just encourage you to lean into being that stand for love in all your relationships and all your people, and really say yes to doing the inner work so that you can maintain that deep, compassionate place of loving all the time.
And that's
Yay.
one thing. Debbie is just like blowing us up.
Oh,
thank you, girl.
Thank you, Debbie.
That is the one thing that I do want to bring in, is that when you do your inner work, that it, and when you want to share the tools, it's not to share from a place that I know better, but to share from a place of, hey, I have this, it might work for you. And that there is this, I don't know if you feel this, but I feel this, is that because there's some growth that I've done that I'm not going to just say because I've grown, I'm not that.
I'm growing.
Because I'm growing, and because I've looked at some things and dissolved a lot of patterning, and that I'm not participating in certain behaviors anymore. And because I've had thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of education in these kind of fields, is that it feels like a responsibility for me to share in loving community.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can do my inner work, but without you evolving or growing or doing, without holding your hand or without holding my neighbor's hands,
mm-hmm.
then what am I actually doing? And who am I doing it for?
Yep. Doing it together.
It's the collective transformation is also a very important piece.
It's how we change the world.
And that's the whole premise of the
it starts
show.
With us.
It's the premise of the show and the premise of why we're here.
Every small step you take towards your spiritual growth and healing makes a step in the collective towards big things. And you may not even see that, but trust me, you're making an impact. Every pattern you heals it for your ancestry, your intergenerational patterning, and then that shows up as a difference in the world.
Yes.
We all make a difference.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. We all make a difference.
So, again, just to reiterate that, when you build more compassion, when you cultivate more compassion for yourself, you can cultivate it automatically. You just become more compassionate in the world. And when you build more self-love or acceptance or generosity or curiosity for yourself, it just automatically happens that you show up that way for others.
Yeah, it just starts to happen in every relationship.
So your healing
is our healing, is my healing, is your healing, is our healing.
Exactly. Thank you, Dawn. I love you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to add some of these things for you.
Oh, awesome. Yes, links. Please add the links. So this is the last week. Doors are open for my program. Yay. We have 12 ladies so far. It's really a juicy container. I'm so excited. It's an amazing, amazing thing. You can, put the link to, I'm going to have to pull it up because I don't think you have my booking link.
I don't.
Anyway, so I guess it's on the unleashthesovereignqueen.com, but
okay, go ahead and keep talking.
Anyway, so the program is really delicious. It's 9 weeks. We are going to be exploring trust in a big way. So that's the first module, is the trust initiation. Come home to love. We're going to, basically give you an opportunity to get into trio dynamics and really work your process around what has your curriculum. This is an opportunity. If you're ready to lay down some patterns and move towards really healing things that have been in the way, this is your opportunity. The price point is crazy great. There's built within tons of bonuses, a whole back-end portal that you can plug into and check out, in a huge live component. So the online temple will be roughly around between 3 and 4 hours each time we meet. It'll be 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 2 weeks on, 1 week off. It's it's an awesome experience all around. I'm so thankful to be offering this. It has been my sacred yes intention and project for a long time now, since I was in school, and it's finally come to be. I've just been really like letting spirit lead to birth this into the world. And so I am so honored and grateful to be showing up and giving you these big downloads and tools and tips on how to just own your sovereign queen. And really what that means to me is owning your authenticity, fully laying down anything that's been in the way to full authenticity in yourself and in your relationships. And in that, this creates role reversals in your relationships. This creates the healing you're asking for in your relationship by full ownership of what's going on for you. And so I did this in my own marriage. I changed so much that it created a role reversal for us. And so here I am standing in the like amazement that occurred, and the knowing of I carry the codes to help create that shift for you. And if you want that shift in your life, if you're struggling in your relationships, you're struggling in your marriage, you're struggling in you've been in like lots of relationships where you find the same patterns occurring, where you're like, man, this feels so familiar. Why is it the different person, but I'm experiencing the very same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if that's ever happened to you, because that happened to me. So this kind of inner work that I'm offering through my program, it's a group experience, and you'll get jam-packed full of like amazing content and opportunity to really work your spiritual line so that you can kind of dissolve these things and really like live a more authentic life. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want more authenticity, right? More experience, more fun, more pleasure, more joy, more connection in your relationships, more connection. Because that's really what it's about, is like having that beautiful, open-hearted, good experience where you feel uplifted in your relationships instead of feeling like you have to hide, right? Nobody wants to hide. And where are you hiding, right? Where are you feeling like I can't be fully myself with this person? And that is always connected to some younger experience and part. And so this is where we get to look at all those parts really and say yes to it and do it in a loving, sacred container. So the online temple starts next week. Woohoo! May 25th. So I will take sales calls, and I will take calls to see and support you if it's the right fit. If you're a right fit for the program and it's the right timing in your life, like I'm here to support you either way. It's a free opportunity to get on the call, have a 40-minute call with me, and I give you downloads. I'll give you direction around what steps to take next, regardless of saying yes to the program or not. It's a great opportunity to just get on the phone with me and get some free insight around what's going on for you. Like, who doesn't want that, right? So take me up on the opportunity. I'm available. I've cleared my schedule to have these conversations and calls to support you. So I'm busy, but I want to make available for you. That's most important to me. So take me up on the opportunity, book a call, get me on the phone. I'm here to give you guidance and support steps for the next, regardless of what your healing path looks like. I want to help point you in the direction to go there and be like, oh, what about this? Look here. Yeah.
So it's going to be fabulous.
Yay. I know. I'm so excited.
Me too.
Yeah. So I think Trish put all the links. Thank you for doing that.
I put in your booking link, and
sweet. Thank you so much.
And I also put in the website so you can check it out.
Awesome.
Oh, I wanted to just briefly answer this for a hot moment. I realize I have some guilt surrounding choosing myself above all else. So I have lots of thoughts. Maybe we should do a show on this one. That there's this idea that it can only be one or the other. But I want to leave you with one thought. Again, we can go into this a lot, but I want to leave you with one thought. When you're on empty, what is the quality of your giving? When you have nothing, when you're just done and flat, and you're not inspired, and you're resentful, and you just have no juice, and you're running on empty. What is the quality of the love and the care that you're giving if you're not taking care of yourself?
Great.
So that's really the only thing that again, we should probably do a show on that.
Yeah, we could do. Let's take a note on that.
So
we're taking a note on this. We're putting a little pin in it. because this is important. It's an important topic. And thank you so much for bringing that forward. You know, I don't know your name because it says Facebook user on our panel here, but thank you so much. It says, I realize I have some guilt surrounding choosing myself self-care above all else. And so that's why we're talking about it, because it was a viewer that typed it in, and we just want to acknowledge you and give you wild permission to say yes to yourself.
Mm-hmm. It also doesn't mean that you're abandoning your children.
True.
Or your job or the things.
Or whatever the thing is that makes you feel like you can't choose yourself.
Yes. So we'll more on this at a later date, but thank you for reaching out on that. And I just wanted to give that one a little bit. Thank you so much to Sign Network and Scott Katamas for your just epic love and support throughout the years. I really appreciate you networking for us and being a stand for our mission in the world, for actually just investing in us and in our love.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Yes, it's true. Thank you.
Love is an investment.
Yeah, it is.
And so I really appreciate you. Thank you again for your love and support in the world. And if you love the show, please share it out to someone who may need it, or you may benefit, or maybe you just want to watch it again with one of your friends and discuss it.
And I'm going to put a huge request to the algorithm to support us on Facebook by liking and commenting. Please, 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 because that really supports our algorithm and our growth for the show. And that means supporting others that need to hear this, need to hear the message of self-love. It gets it broadcasted far and wide. It's not for us. It's for everybody else. It's about getting this broadcast out, so that the message of what we teach and how we share and all the beautiful contributions that come on this show, all the amazing guests we have that do amazing work in the world, it's about lifting everybody up, right? And supporting the vibration of self-love to get out to every person that needs it in the language they need to hear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yay.
We will see you next week. Same time, safe place. That would be 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Thursday morning, Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, we'll see you there.
Book your